Right. So I'm here with Eugenia Foxworth. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Absolutely.
Whoop whoop. Laborer of love, woman of many talents, including first African American president in history. At Can you pronounce that? Because I
Uh, It's FIABCI. It's the
FIABCI.
acronym for the International Real Estate Federation.
Okay. Now, how did you get in? Okay, let's just start from your humble beginnings. Tell me what was life like before you got into real estate.
Very interesting. I've always been unique. I have the right name, Eugenia. Prior to getting into real estate, I'll just fast forward. I was looking for another art gallery,
Mm-hmm.
and the real estate agents were taking me every place but the right. And we all understand how those things happen in life. I call it mistaken identity. I wanted to go, uh, I was in a prime area. And then I decided to get my license. And I figured, oh, I'm there. I'm going to get my own space. Well, I missed the first class. I did an accelerated course at NYU. In missing that class, I found out I had to go to work for a real estate company for them to hold my license. That's how this journey began.
And then you got your own company. So what was that like?
Um, that was because I was giving up real estate and I wanted to maintain my license in case I wanted to go back. That was how that began. And I became a broker. And a lady friend of mine said, who was like major in the city, why don't you get your license and get a company?
Mm-hmm.
And I started thinking, good idea. I'll go to work for myself and I don't have to do anything else. And that's exactly what I did. I opened up my company not knowing anything aside from what I'd done as a real estate agent. And let me tell you, it is a 360. Forget the buying and selling and clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing journey. And that's how I met FIABCI. I learned how to do the computer. And I was up late at night when things were coming through on the company. It was Coldwell Banker, Hank Kennedy, who is no longer in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman responded, and I'm thinking, who in the world is working at midnight? And I was in my office. She was in Atlanta, Georgia, no less. And then I found a magazine company. I met this woman because I was following this organization around, not knowing who in the world they were, but they were interesting. They were different. They were, involved in real estate on all aspects of real estate. And so she said, well, I can sponsor you. She was my, sales associate for Unique Homes. And I said, sponsor me for what? She said, to become a member. Meanwhile, I had been crashing parties, not knowing that I was not supposed to be there. Someone got upset with me because I wouldn't go to New Jersey for an event. And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. But it was interesting. And here I am. I became the president of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. That too was a first at that time. And but I held out for 15 years before I decided that I would throw my hat in to become the president of FIABCI-USA. Unfortunately, I did not know so many people would vote me in. Mm-hmm. And that was it.
As the first African American woman, that is like major. Was When you decided to join this company, were there other African American people part of it at the time?
Well, we're in 65 countries.
Mm-hmm.
So meetings are held all over the world. And there were not, I mean, I'll be very honest with you, there were not. There are more now, but it's a minimal. But it has nothing to do with color. It has to do with ambition, traveling. Travel costs money. And the places we go to for our meetings, one meeting was in Dubai.
Wow.
Another meeting I recently went to was in Russia. We have meetings in the US because we are international. So it depends on what you want to do. See, I'd rather travel and have my shoes resold so that I can travel and meet people that are going to send their people to buy properties that I'm selling or those that somebody else is selling. And the only way to do it is to get on a plane. You know, driving, that's another story. But getting on a plane, that's the most important.
Investing in yourself. So you
Absolutely
important. So you not only are the first African American woman with this company, but you I love your story where you got a gift bag, looked on the back of that box or the gift bag, got the number off the bag. You went and bought the company. Where they do that at? Explain, ma'am.
Okay. As I said, my life is always like that. When I saw it, well, first of all, it was at a fashion show. And the ladies on the runway, a couple of them looked a little different, but they were flawless. Mm-hmm. And the skin was great. And I said, So I called the company, not knowing I'm calling a dermatology center. Mm-hmm. The dermatologist had been doing this and trying to get the company out there, publicly. So they said, well, what do you want? And I said, I ran out of products. And they said, well, which ones? I said, all of them. And he said, are you a client? And I said, a client? I said, no. I said, I got them in a gift bag. So I said, well, he said, well, where are you? I said, I'm in New York. Where? I said, you're in Pennsylvania. He said, yes. He said, do you want to meet? And I'm thinking, is this guy crazy? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, well, I kickbox, so I'm not worried. I want that product. It wasn't anywhere. End of story. I ended up going, oh, I forgot. He said, well, we're looking for investors. Mm-hmm. Well, I heard that word. I was in Philadelphia the next week, less than a week, Main line. I ended up talking to them, contacted my attorneys. I did I did some shortcuts, and I ended up with, those law firms on Pine Street in New York, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, old law firms. Well, I ended up there, not knowing, and I got the company and had the attorneys invest in it. However, I'm smart. The total of the dermatologists and the attorneys, they only had together 15%. I owned 85%. Wow. I owned 85%. And I'm saying the companies on Pine Street and the dermatologists, that was another first. And the end of the story, my first company was J.C. Penney.
Wow.
And I went mainline Pennsylvania, and in California, I opened before Iman. However, thanks by the grace of God, I sold one product to the US government for their commissaries, and it was a shave cream. So if one had folliculitis, they wouldn't slice their face. If they were tender, very delicate, they did not. That one product was what enabled me to keep going. And that's how I got there, the skincare line.
Okay.
Manufactured it in New York City. I mean, the suburbs in Long Island.
So your story is more so about definitely reinvesting in yourself, whatever sacrifices you had to make to get to where you are.
Absolutely.
You had an art boutique as well, correct? Can you tell me a little about that?
Okay, the doctors told me that I would never, ever, ever be able to do what I used to do, and that I should find something that I enjoyed to do. My florist was going out of business. I ended up getting his space, prime property, 65th East Side between Madison and Park. I gutted it. I did everything wrong. There is someone that looks after you. Instead of the dumpsters, I paid off the guys with the sanitation department, and they did things for me. I gutted it. I redid the whole space. And I opened a fine arts gallery. Asked me, did I study art? No, it was what I liked. I had to learn about some of the artists that I was selling, but I knew them. So I had a fine art gallery called Foxworth Gallery. I did Miro, Tanguy, Giacometti, and all of those people. That was the first. So it's like, if you do things and you believe in yourself, and if you're a little out of the box, maybe I'm totally out of the box, but I was told, never, if you want to do something, never let someone say you cannot do it. So a lot of ventures I ventured into was because I knew that no one was going to tell me you cannot do it. Of course, I paid for some of those adventures. Thank goodness that I had the skin, tough skin, to do it. But that I did a show for the National Council for Culture and Art, honored Alvin Ailey. And I did everything, but I always give back. But it was a phenomenon. I had name artists and artists that had no names, emerging artists. And guess what else? I did graffiti artists. So I was like a contradiction totally, but I made it to some of the news, primetime news, radio stations, town and country. That was the first. So it was just very nice. Life is beautiful.
Yes, you seem like a risk taker. And I love that you said you give back to the community. So this is my question about real estate. Like, you have fought against bad investors that swoop in to aid gentrification, or not aid them, but you save homeowners. So tell me a little bit about that and your thoughts overall of why this is still an ongoing thing to this day.
It's called education, reading. And if you read and you have someone to come and tell you about it, people were losing their homes because they did not know they needed to pay taxes on it. There were homes that there were lotteries, and people were getting homes for $1 or $2. Connections, they bought homes. Then there's the others, hardworking, that, bought their home or inherited, generations of people, third, fourth generation. And they ran into hard times. They did not know what they could do. Some got mortgages that they could not pay or should not have gotten. So what I do is, what I've done and what I still do, I make sure that they don't have to spend money on an attorney. I make sure that I help them out. I will put their homes on my listings. That's the advantage of owning your own company. And it shows the court that they are trying to rent, but I put in people that I know. Actually, FIABCI members whose family, who have kids coming to school here or their friends, those are the renters that I put in. They're safe. And it shows that I'm renting. It shows that the people are doing something to make the money. It gives them a bit of income. They don't waste the money on the attorney. I tell them what to do. And we need more people like that. That's why with FIABCI, I'm trying to get people in all neighborhoods throughout the country. I'm trying to get academic members, which for free, they can become a member. They will be given membership by FIABCI. Why an academic member? Well, the academic member that's involved with any aspect of real estate. If a student is studying law, if they're studying architecture, if they're studying finance, international finance, anything, surveyors, purveyors, all, they can get a scholarship from the International Federation of Real Estate. And I'm on the, I was invited, not voted, invited to be a trustee.
Wow.
And that's for the organization, not FIABCI-USA. Remember, we're in different countries.
Right.
This is the international organization, and our quarters are in Paris. So I'm trying to reach out to students that want scholarships, but now I'm trying to reach out to get the academics. And that will save a community, because you have someone in your community, even if it's a city college, even if it's a small college or a large college, but long as you can get people actively involved, that will be able, those students, youth, can educate their communities, and you won't end up in these unfortunate situations.
That's right. I like that you're working towards affordable housing for this economy that's not affordable anymore. So can you tell me about the steps you're working towards as far as that's concerned?
Well, FIABCI has been doing this before affordable housing became a buzzword. When I stumbled across FIABCI, they had built a neighborhood, a large neighborhood in Nicaragua. They got funding from one of the major financial institutes, and it was a slum. And we do things. A lot of our, well, we're a part of the UN. We are doing our next, we're ECOSOC. And the Habitat for Humanities, they're going to be in Hawaii, and we are one of the hosts. And we have been encouraging affordable housing since I can remember. I've been a member of FIABCI now since 2003. So if you Google and see when people started saying affordable housing, and we're working with developers. We have developers that are part of our organization. A lot of the developments that they're doing, they're doing things that are communities that people can afford. They have nurseries in some places. And now here, that is something that we're fighting for. I won't say fighting, but fighting by getting those members and getting them to do not just the 20% you're going through the back door, but affordable housing. So I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too. I mean, you know, anybody, especially who's a homeowner, who was a homeowner, you know, you want to be able to afford where you live. You want to
Right.
be able to get what you want. It's kind of like what you were saying about the real estate agent who would not show you the houses that you wanted. So why do you think that was during that time, that that person just simply, although you had the money, you had the funds, and they still would not show you that property? Why do you think that was?
Because people make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like they don't think you can afford it. That's to begin with. And then it's also not me, it's them,
Right.
because they're limited. And that person was very limited. And I say limited, I don't mean limited financially. I'm talking about limited here.
Right.
To know the difference. No, not the exposure. You know, people look at me. I told someone, it didn't matter how I was dressed or how I looked. It mattered that I am a woman of color. And I'm a little different, yes. And I can do a lot of things, and I take advantage of it because it's like the cobra. If you turn your head, it's got you. And that's the positive. However, yes, of course, it was obvious because of the way that I looked. If I had been different and wearing the same clothes, they would have been knocking doors down because they'd say, oh, here comes Miss Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing me, it doesn't matter. And it's, I'm out there. And that's why FIABCI is different. They never looked at me because of my face. They looked at me as they have others, because we're all doing the same thing. It's a camaraderie, and it's absolutely amazing. And that's the only group I belong to. You know, I'm members with a lot of the real estate organizations because that's what one does.
Mm-hmm.
But FIABCI was my first group. I was not even a Girl Scout. And then I got this huge organization, and it was the best thing that could have happened. I never had any racism from the time I joined. And my first World Congress was in Houston. The only thing that was said to me, and I've since become one of her best friends, and I love her dearly. One of the ladies said, and she was Japanese, I had just gotten off of the flight, and she said, "Are you here to do business or to have fun?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Well, I was dressed.
Right.
Little off the shoulder dress,
Right.
and long skirt, the whole thing. And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" She said, "Well, some of the ladies that come because they're looking for boyfriends." Well, you should have seen me trying to find clothes in the mall. I mean, I had professional clothes, but I thought what I was wearing was fine too. But yeah, but it wasn't a racist statement. It was advice.
Right.
And that was it. But FIABCI is not. It's a good old boys club. But like I told one of the good old boys when he said, "Well, the good old boys make money." And I said, "And so do the good old girls."
Okay.
And that was my first year.
He must didn't know who you were coming in the door. Like you spent your whole life investing literally to get to that point. So he did not know who he was talking to when he said that. And that was 20 years ago?
Yeah, 19 years ago.
Wow, that is a long time to
Yeah.
make the time that you've made and become president, and you're celebrating your annual, like this is your anniversary, the 17th of this month, right?
Yeah, you must have Googled me.
I sure but did, okay?
I know where you live. I may have to come get you.
Ooh, don't do that. I forgot you got the power at the tips of your fingers, okay? So
No, but I love what you did because that's important. That's great to know who the person is, whether it's your enemy or your friend. You should know, and it makes a difference.
yes,
Big
ma'am.
difference.
If nothing else, I'm gonna do my research, especially with like phenomenal women like yourself. That's so inspiring. You inspire little Black girls every single day, and I just did not want to miss this opportunity to speak with you because again, it's all about the next generation that's watching what you're doing, that they can do it too. If you did it, somebody else can do it too. So tell me, how do you shake up the economy with FIABCI-USA?
How do we shape it?
Shape it, shake it up, like add to it.
Well, with what I'm doing now, everything I do is for FIABCI. I'm recruiting people, whether they're in the universities, like one young lady, just because I spoke on a local show, applied for an application, and she got a scholarship. So what I'm doing now, because of FIABCI, I'm utilizing my position to get affordable housing for people and to make sure that people know who we are and what we do, and perhaps go to someone that is FIABCI and has that on their logos. I mean, if you look in CVS on 125th Street, you'll see my kiosk. What's there? FIABCI. One of the Bed Bath & Beyond closed, someone gave me a heads up, hey, it's closing. They took my kiosk out of there and they're putting it up in the Bronx. FIABCI. And that's what I'm doing because people don't know, such as you, who we are.
Right.
And the more people you know, the more people that will help. And that's it. You know, if I can get the word out and people know me, and those who know me before the position I'm in, I've always been involved with the community. You know, a little for you, a little for me. And if I get a lot, then I have the opportunity to take a piece of that pie and give that to you. And that's how I want to get FIABCI out there. Someone once interviewed me and said, wow, you're different. And that person knew me from when I had the art gallery. And they said, but you're different. Your organization's different. You're not that organization with the hands out. And I felt like, ooh, I didn't realize people thought that. But that's what I want to do. I had a young lady call me today and say, I'm in a shelter. She found my name in one of the local publications. And she said, I have a son. And I want to get my son out of the shelter. And she said, I have a program. And I said, but you know what? Wait. I said, everybody is doing things. Call me in 2 weeks. But there is someone that I know that has a space, and I'm going to try to call them. But I don't know enough people, but the way that she said it, you know, there are a lot of people that are working and they can't afford housing. They've been burned out and they don't have the money to go in. I'm not talking about the people in Florida. I'm talking about the ones that I know within my vicinity. And our FIABCI members, I mean, we have the IOC, That's a part of the ISTE International Federation. We're right there. Um, they've been working hard and long for a long time. And we're small in comparison, but we are the elite group, and we're givers. Yeah, we work for money too. If we don't make money, we're not going to do it. Don't look, I have to get my nails done. You see my nails? I have to make sure of that. But when you don't give to get. And I think that's a philosophy that we all have. Not all, I'm sure there's some that aren't, but those who are the volunteers, such as myself, that works, and we spend our time and our money to help people. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get people to know their leases, know what you are signing. Don't let someone pat you on the back and say, oh, don't worry. Because as soon as they pat you on the back and say, don't worry, they can bang you over the head and say, time to get out.
That's right.
These are things that people aren't, and you see it every day. In all different communities, we're human. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to work with developers. The thing is, when things come on the market, you have to put it out there, not me, the developers. And we've got to get people who need that housing.
Facts.
Aware of it and share it before it happens. Because by the time some of those people know, it's too late. And that's why I'm counting on the youth. And that's why, and some of our youth, our young members, I just found out one of the young members that wants to reach out because he got a scholarship and he wants to give back to FIABCI for giving him an opportunity. And he wants to reach out to the other scholarship recipients who did not become members to get them to give back. And you've got attorneys, etc. He's a Harvard graduate. So,
wow.
Yeah, so this is what I mean. It's that grain of salt, that grain of sand.
It only takes one person. So I know that you love Diana Ross and you favor her. You do. I agree. So who is your muse that helps you tap into your Black girl magic?
Unfortunately, it was a man, but it's a fortunate thing. Barrett Rustin followed me when I became a flight attendant and wondered where I came from. Meanwhile, I didn't know who he was. And we spoke. And he said, well, how did you do it? Who sent you? I said, no one. I was trying to not pay my friends at the Philadelphia Naval Base, buy drinks for these people. Whenever we'd walk in, my friends were Lieutenant JGs. And then a bell would ring. And next thing I know, we had to buy drinks and they included me. I wasn't even in the Navy. I was tagging along. I was trying to get a boyfriend or something. In this story, we decided we were going to get back at everyone. And that's how I became a flight attendant. But I did not want to be a flight attendant, but at least we didn't have to buy drinks anymore because the bet was that no one felt I was going to be a flight attendant. I was short and I'd never make it, and I did. So Barrett Rustin was my mentor. And during the period that I met him, and then he lost me when I opened my gallery, and then we found each other. I believe in the law of cause and effect. And that was a benefit I did for the National Council for Culture and Art, which gives money to musicians and entertainers, all forms of entertainers that needed help back then during the dinosaur period. Don't you say, because you Googled me. And he was one that a lot of things he said to me, including never giving up, never letting people, and my grandfather said I was different too, but it's different when after I found out who buyer was, that here's a man who had the temperament that I don't have, because I'm like, but he was focused, and I took a lot from him, and a lot, I meaning it came to me, things that he said, and those things lived with me. So between him and my father said I could do anything I wanted, as long as it wasn't illegal, immoral, and I didn't mind people doing it to me. Guess that's why I'm not a nurse, because I wouldn't be able to give a needle to anyone. So, but basically, that's where it came from. And it lives on with me. It's like that little thing you say, I have a little man on my shoulder. And that, you have those aha moments. That's that little man on my shoulder, or that big guy that's up there that's making me aware of it. But that's where I got it from. So I do what I want. I dress the way that I want. I go where I want. And I think nothing of it. Look, I went down to Nashville a few years ago when I was representing art company, well, I call them wall ornaments then, because I like the real thing, but they did a lot of the prints. And one of their galleries in Nashville was having a problem. And they sent me there for 3 days. I was making extra money. I needed the money to involve myself with my skincare line. And I went to Nashville, and I went to Ted Turner, and nobody really looked like me, but I enjoyed it. The show where you dance, people were dancing. I didn't think anything of it until later. Somebody said, you went there? I said, yeah, it was fun. I had nothing to do. I had no friends in Nashville. No one asked me to go to dinner or anything. So I went.
Somebody said they're going to move when they feel like it, okay? So what is one of your rule of thumbs in investments? What's smart investing?
Smart investing for me is to give up buying your fabulous handbags and think about that $5,000 or $3,000, or those sodas that you buy that you can just buy a case. Smart investing for me is think about the money you're spending on the foolish things and the money that you're paying on your rent. And you add that together, and you can invest in a home or a small apartment of your own. If you invest in a small apartment, I always say diamonds grow. That small apartment's a diamond. And what can you do? That small apartment will enable you to borrow money. It will enable you as a homeowner to sell and move up. Owning your own place is most important. Right now, the market is crazy, but the interest rates are so low. But don't just count on your girlfriend or your best friend, whoever it is, to tell you, oh, don't do this, or I've thought this. No. Do your reading, go to a professional. There's enough on the internet to know. Don't do these designer mortgages. They're back. The ones where they'll give you a lot. and you don't own anything because you're paying off the interest.
Right.
And also a smart investor, it not necessarily have to be purchasing a home. You can invest in properties. There are now things one can invest in together. There are groups of people that are putting their funds together legally, and they are investing in real estate. And that is a good opportunity for a lot of people. Maybe you don't have a lot of money, but your money will grow. Your home, real estate, that's something you always need. You cannot get evicted.
That's right. And they can't tell you where to park. So this is my last question. You've been doing this for a very long time, like just staying on top of your game, reinventing yourself, rising to the top. How do you keep from burning out? Like, how do you stay driven to the point to where you're president now?
I meditate in the morning. Mm-hmm. I read my verses. I embrace all religions. But I do. I take the time when I get up to meditate. I set aside a day and a half for me to take care of me, my nails, my feet. Well, I have to take care of my feet because I'd be crippled. I wouldn't be able to walk with the calluses. And I also, it gives me time to regroup. That day and a half, but I take that day a full day of not doing anything, not getting on the phone about it, not writing and or reading. And that keeps me going. And of course, my hairdresser, make sure that I get that appointment, because if you feel that you look good and you even look like a little ET, just because I always, kids, I find the best spot and I'll say, I love your eyes. Your eyes are so beautiful. You say that to a little kid, like a little toddler, they're like, but you have to do that for yourself. You've got to love yourself. And that's what I do. I do those things. I went out last night. After I finished working, I took an agent out. Laughter. She and I went out because, she's been on we were locked in, but we're not going places. Mm-hmm. We sat outside. We had a wonderful meal. Maybe the meal wasn't so wonderful, but watching the people go by, that's something I love. I love people. There's some I don't like too much. I do love people. I really do. And that's what I do. I give myself a moment to enjoy. And then, but that's dangerous because you get another idea. Like I got another idea this morning, but that's how I keep it going.
So you give yourself grace and plenty of self-love.
Oh, absolutely. If you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to.
That's right. I agree. So Ms. Foxworth, you have been a joy, a pleasure. I admire you tremendously, look up to you. Okay. So can you give our viewers information on where they can follow you or the organization's information?
FIABCI, USA. We have a link and you can see FIABCI, and you can also contact me if you'd like. Email, of course, Eugenia at FoxworthRealtyOnline.com. And don't put a Y at the end of Foxworth.
Please don't. Thank you so much. I just love you. So I always feel like in order to feel or be inspired, you need to be around people that bring out the best in you. And you're one of those people, with motivation and just continuously growing, even though, like, even through the pandemic, you're still doing something pretty amazing, obviously. Like you're on your anniversary date. So it's just spectacular what you're doing as an African American woman. So thank you for just being you.
And thank you for having me on, and blessings.
Thank you.
You're a beautiful lady. I love your living room.
Thank you. This is not my living room. I said people are tired of looking at my sofa, so let me get something virtual.
Guess what? Visualize it and it will become yours.
Manifestations. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.